10 years ago, me and my mustache navigated through the rough halls of middle school. I will say that I was absolutely killing it, and if you remember where you were 10 years ago, chances are it was probably not as great as where I was 10 years ago. Unless you are Adele. Somehow 2021 marks the 10-year birthday of Adele's 21, her sophomore record released in 2011. You know, you see lots of pop stars coming each and every year, but Adele felt like the sun was absolutely exploding, and the numbers would prove you right there. I mean, the record is still the most popular record of the century so far, selling 31 million copies worldwide. Not to mention that since 2011, the album has been on the Billboard 200 list of top year-end records for every year since its release. That means it's been one of the 200 most popular albums in the US every year since the album was released. Her commercial success also matched up with her critical success that came from the album. Publications A Consequence of Sound called 21 one of the best records of the decade, while Rolling Stone ranked it 137th in their latest rehash of their 500 greatest albums of all time list. Adele's success in the United States came from a mix of her talent and the huge momentum that came behind both her and the sound that she played, resulting in an incredibly deliberate marketing effort in the United States that helped unite competing factions of the pop music landscape and giving Adele one of the most important records that has come out in the past 10 years. The pop music landscape that Adele walked into in 2011 seemed incredibly unfriendly to her type of music. Kanye West's Graduation and Britney Spears' Blackout laid down the groundwork for the dance pop boom that absolutely dominated pop music in the late 2000s and early 2010s. Of course, the queen of this scene was Lady Gaga, who represented everything that dance pop had to offer, both musically and aesthetically. The Fame and its companion EP, The Fame Monster, sold 15 million copies worldwide and absolutely smashed the pop charts around the world. In case you have been deprived of the good fortune that she brought upon the world during this time, here are some of the great songs that she put together on those releases that made its way around the world like wildfire. Of course, it might make sense to say Adele filled in a gap that Lady Gaga didn't, but pop music's a little more complicated than that. This complexity boils down to what your parents might listen to and what you might listen to. I think this Venn diagram will help explain that. So you have Top 40 radio on the left. Top 40 is simply dedicated to playing the songs that are currently the fastest selling and most popular in the country. What's popular can change really fast, and the dominant sound of Top 40 changes with it. And on your right, you have Adult Contemporary. Adult Contemporary is for rockers who have grown up but haven't outgrown a contemporary feel. It is designed to keep adults from changing their taste just because they change demographic groups. This nuance in what constitutes pop music means that there is a cool tandem play happening. On one side, you have this constantly changing, constantly evolving top 40 sound that really just goes with the flow and goes with what people are really into. Whereas the adult contemporary sound acknowledges the past, and whether it is playing current songs that sound like past tracks or just classics themselves, this combination really guides the music that's popular to us both in the present tense and in the future. Sure, someone like Lady Gaga was undoubtedly the biggest pop star in the world at the time, but that success was propelled by top 40 fanatics. It wasn't the adult contemporary stations that were really pushing her to the same degree, as you can see from her chart performance during this time on the adult contemporary and the top 40 charts. Where Adele fits into this equation is that her sound very much fits the adult contemporary mold. It very much aligns with the throwbacks that our parents and our parents' parents must have really enjoyed, and would make it a really easy sell to adult contemporary stations around the country. The main question, though, was how she could translate this success to the top 40. Because if you can combine the success of parents and their kids, you have a smash on your hands. You have the ability to change the world by combining both of those markets and creating a pop record that could do that. Adele's marketing team knew this nuance and built a marketing campaign designed to really push Adele into any corner of the pop sphere that it could. Steve Barnett, the chairman of Adele's label Columbia Records, told Billboard that the American market is a world of niches, and Adele didn't fit perfectly into any of them, certainly not at radio. We knew people had to experience her, so we took an old-fashioned approach. She had to go out and play. Because she's so captivating, we felt that if she got the right TV opportunities, she'd be able to cut right through. This campaign also had to be a pretty agnostic one. We couldn't just associate Adele with our parents and the music that they listened to. We had to be able to associate her in all sorts of contexts in any sort of range that we might see from a pop artist, and this campaign really captured it to that end. Adele played big venues, small venues, TV shows, Target headquarters, Michael Bay movies, and in so many other places, which made her music give itself a really wide and broad appeal that it could work with. We didn't just associate her with her parents, we associated her with all sorts of placements that really had nothing to do with her type of music in the first place. Throwing Adele in our faces may have made her seem like a new face to most Americans, but she was part of a larger movement of British women making popular soul music in the 2000s and early 2010s. Most dominant women in British pop music during the late 2000s and early 2010s were all playing a very soul-inspired, R&B influenced sound. All of this began with Amy Winehouse and her 2006 record, Back to Black. Winehouse's sound blended her legendary voice with a killer soul soundscape that felt almost American, if anything. Andy Gill at The Independent said that the record's production from Salaam Remi and Mark Ronson is perfectly sculpted to reflect the updated soul mood, with Motown-like grooves, Otis-style horn arrangements, and a rich, smoky Southern soul feel. She earned comparisons to American soul icons like Lauryn Hill and Etta James, while becoming Britain's highest-selling musician in 2007, with Back to Black becoming the highest-selling record of that year. Beyond Winehouse, you had stars like Leona Lewis, Duffy, Corinne Bailey Rae, and others selling millions worldwide by doing this essentially American sound incredibly well in a British context. This sound, built and refined by Black Americans throughout the 20th century, had really become a British affair that ebbed racial and stylistic lines. Ultimately, this wave became just as much of a patriotic movement as it was a musical movement. Jim Farber at the New York Daily News said that the stars of this wave gained extra encouragement from our robust UK print media, which stresses gorgeously illustrated, historically minded articles in respected magazines like Mojo, Q, and Uncut. Both fans and the British music press had high expectations for the stars coming out of this scene. I mean, Adele's 2008 album, 19, was her first contribution to this scene, but 21 was really the moment where fans and critics could try to take her to the moon. The hype behind Adele had been propped up since before her debut even dropped in 2008. Ian Youngs of the BBC wrote that year that Adele's piercingly poignant singing voice will ensnare listeners, dripping with soul, which goes on jazzy excursions as it swings between being sultry and joyful. And in her songwriting, her youthful and wide-eyed lyrics are conveyed through tunes that show musical maturity. Adele built a real hype train with all of the critics standing behind her, and it didn't hurt that her record label also had a reputation for churning out classics. 19 dropped on XL Recordings, an indie label known for its emphasis of quality over quantity. By 2008, XL had become a trusted source of game changers around the music scene across different genres. You had folks like Dizzy Rascal, MIA, The White Stripes, and Radiohead, who had dropped iconic records of the label in the 2000s. Adele would join these ranks with 19, along with the likes of Vampire Weekend and the XX, who dropped their own game-changer debuts in 2008 and 2009 respectively. Now, being in the company of greatness helped Adele earn credibility with music insiders, but the music monopoly really helped her gain steam, especially within the United States. Columbia Records worked with XL to release 19 in the United States, bridging a gap between XL's critical stamp of approval and the monopolistic power of a major label like Columbia. The label had the weight to deploy Adele in our faces beyond our parents and beyond the insiders, and that is exactly what they did. I already talked about the constant barrage of Adele that Columbia and its marketing team sent at us, but Columbia also had in mind a long game when it came to 21. Columbia Senior VP of Marketing Scott Greer told Billboard that 21 relied on a long-tail campaign, which he said focused on building a critical mass throughout February 2011 in order to reach all those people who bought 19, but over 19 months. He said that he wanted 5 singles off the record, wins in the 2012 Grammys, and a broad commitment to Adele beyond the initial album release, which is not a really easy thing to come by in the major label sphere. I mean, do you think about the music that was popular 5 years ago? I'm sure you do because you're watching this video at this point, but many normal folk don't remember what was popular 5 years ago, let alone 1-2 years ago. And that's exactly what the top 40 people want. They want your taste to be constantly changing so that they can continue to push the next big thing. For Adele to have a commitment for almost 2 years to be the next new thing, It's almost insane how she wouldn't have made it this big. You had Columbia turn 5 of the album's 11 tracks into singles. This made it easier to slowly churn out singles over the course of a year and a half, but it also convinced people really easily to buy the full-length record. It already had so many of the songs that they liked to begin with, on top of a record that showed Adele's different sides as an artist. Rolling in the Deep and Rumour Has It kick off the record, with up-tempo rockers that blend Adele's voice with melodies and a live band that was incredibly hard to miss. Set Fire to the Rain coupled the heavy rhythm of the first 2 tracks with a cathartic ballad that had its own emotional core. Of course, Turning Tables and Someone Like You could clobber anyone with a heartbeat, and it made Adele validated as someone who you can cry to. Yes, Adele is talented and shows off her whole range on 21, but the record's construction trusted in the creative and cultural momentum around her. Greg Wells, who helped write the track One and Only, said that in a world of manufactured sausage machine music and a climate where pretty much every record company decision is fear-based because it is so brutal out there and so hard to get anything buoyant, Adele's management team let her make that record and put Someone Like You on it. Now they have a hit all over the world with a piano and a vocal demo. My hat goes very far off my head to her team. They have allowed Adele and her music room to breathe. It's a really active decision for a label to let someone like Adele play their game and hope that they win. 21 didn't contrast with the pop machine as much as it overcame it, relying on Adele's ability and her talent to carry things forward. Adele and her collaborators trusted her and her talent to speak for itself. And if not for the momentum that she had been experiencing as an artist, at the very least, the marketing push that Columbia put behind the record was not going to quit anytime soon if it didn't achieve the success that it did. Either way, I don't think the diverse audiences would have fallen for 21 if it was complete garbage. I mean, she had a lot of help on her side, but Adele really steers the ship here and really ended up writing one of the all-time classics for our generation with 21. First off, if you've made it this far, thank you, kindly. I appreciate all your support here, and I'm really happy to be on this trend. 3rd video so far. You might be here for the 4th if you stay tuned. So be sure to subscribe and like this video if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments what your favorite track off 21 is. My personal favorite is Rumour Has It, but we'll see what the rest of you have to say. I'm Adit, you've been watching No Vacuum. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to stay tuned for the next video, and I have some of my other ones on the channel as well, so do what you have to do to find those. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll be sure to see you for the next one. Take care, everyone.